As you guys are coming in, we're using a quick activity through Poll Everywhere to share our top 5 strengths so that it can show us what our most dominant strengths are as a cohort this morning, which is kind of fun. I already see learner and relator. Make sure when you're typing in your top 5, if you do have relator, that you don't let it auto-correct you to realtor.
Good point.
I finally learned to just add it to my computer's dictionary. Thank you guys so much for sharing your top 5 strengths with us. And we're going to be digging into a little bit more about what those are today. Here's our agenda. So we're going to begin with just introductions. And then we're going to dig into what are the basic beliefs about strengths and how did strengths develop and what guides the principles of strengths. And then we're going to kind of do a few activities to help us figure out how can we use our strengths to be successful in our environment, and then how can we use our strengths to be purposeful in improving our performance in whatever task we've chosen to work on. And then last is going to be questions and answers. And if you guys want to stick around, Rhonda and I will have, a lot of time at the end dedicated for any questions you have, if it's about a particular strength or anything we discussed today, or maybe something we missed that you were hoping we would touch on. Okay. Just a few norms to get us started. If you will, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. At the bottom of your screen, when you hover your mouse, a little toolbar should pop up and allow you to mute your microphone. So when you're not speaking, if you would do that, please, we would greatly appreciate it. Be prepared to share. Like I said, we will be using breakout rooms. And so once you go into your breakout rooms, if you would please turn your microphone on and your video on once you get into your breakout room. And just be willing to share, be vulnerable, and be ready to learn and discuss. And then last but not least, if you are planning to tweet today, we ask that you use the hashtag strengths, KISD, if you're in the Twitter world. Okay, so some materials you might want to have nearby: paper, pen, your top 5 strengths. These are all optional, but will help you get the most out of today's webinar. Your insights report, if you have that available, will help you as well when we get into a few of the activities. And then your handout that I emailed you, and Karen is going to put into the chat for you guys right now, the link to that. There's a Google version. If you would like to use a digital version, you can. If you have printed it, that's fine too. And if you don't want to use the handout, that's okay as well. It's really just your preference. So that's just there for you. And then at the very end of today's webinar, we're going to share a Google folder with you that has a lot of resources that will help you as you begin your journey or continue your journey with strengths. Okay, so I'll go ahead and quickly introduce myself. My name is Lindsey Stevens, and I am an instructional coach over social studies for Maid Creek Junior High and Cardiff Junior High. I'm going into my 9th year in education, and I'll just introduce you to my family first. This is my husband. We're coming up on our 6th year anniversary at the end of June. And this is our daughter. She's 3. Her name is Charlie Grace. And we just celebrated her birthday, COVID style, which means it was really just us and her grandparents. And the intimate setting was really great. We really got to focus on her and make it all about just family, and it was really a cool experience. Normally birthday parties are very stressful, every detail, all the balloons, everything. So it was nice to not worry about that. And this is my mom in my upper right-hand corner. She is the opposite of me in every way. And what I mean by that is all of my top strengths here are her bottom strengths. And all of my bottom strengths are her top strengths. So it's kind of fun that, somebody with the opposite strengths of me raised me to be the person that I am. And she's a huge influence in everything that I do. I have listed here my top 10 strengths. And the reason that I chose to include the top 10 is because I wanted you to see that you might see your top 5 and see something missing that you think should be there, or something that might, confuse you. I'm not really sure why that's there. but you're so much more than just your top 5 strengths. And as we progress today, just keep that in mind, um, and know that uh, it can be more than just what's on the surface level that's guiding you. I was very surprised when I got my top 5 to know that competition wasn't there, because I am a highly competitive person, and if you've worked with me, you know that scores drive me to get better. I love getting my star scores at the end of the year. Um, and so I was surprised that it wasn't in my top 5, but once I saw that it was in my top 10, it made a little bit more sense to me. So this is a little bit about me professionally. I taught 8th grade US history for about 6 years. And I was one of those teachers who was willing to do whatever it takes to make kids remember my class. And I think that a lot of that comes from my strength of significance, wanting to leave a legacy, wanting whatever I'm doing to be very important and meaningful. This is my crew. These are my people, my department, and my social studies ICs, and they have been with me since the beginning of my career. A lot of this stems from my relator strength of I grow very close, deep relationships. I'm not friends with everyone, but I have very deep friendships when I do make them. And lastly, I'm a huge history nerd. That comes, I think, from my learner and my context. But to me, it's not just about acquiring facts. It's about why they matter. How do they impact our lives? How does what we learn from the past change who we are as people? And I think that that comes through in my significance strength.
I've listed my top 5 here, and I'm Rhonda Ward. Okay, so I work at the ESC now. I've been in the district 37 years, and I have worked at elementary, junior high, high school. I was a coach. I was a science teacher. I was a bus driver. KDISD is the only job I've ever had professionally. So you'll see some of my family here, and I show the last summer I hiked a 14,000-foot peak, and which is my discipline that helped me get up there. But I'm sort of embarrassed. I didn't bring a sign with me. You can see I had to borrow this quandary sign, and the person I borrowed it from spelled quandary wrong. So my discipline is like, oh my gosh. On the back of this sign, it says, "Will you marry me?" Because somebody was proposing up there at the top of the mountain. This is part of my family, big Astros fans, and this is Taylor. He was Seven Lakes High School. He's 30 now. He lives in Denver. His main strength is a ranger. He arranges all of our family trips, airline, hotel, cabs, Uber, where we eat. He looks up everything. He is very valuable to our family. All right, and I have another slide here. This is Whitney. This is Cinco Junior High. She played 7th grade football. Adaptability, talk about transition. She ended up being a college cheerleader. We never would have seen that happen. Carissa is the granddaughter, and we're not sure what her strengths are going to be yet, but this is like a really cute picture. She is 8 now. And this is the family photo in Colorado last year. Whitney's adaptability really helps, because whatever Taylor plans on the trip as the arranger, Whitney could care less. She doesn't do anything to help. All she does is show up with her backpack, but it's good because if plans change, whatever Taylor picks, she's happy with. James has woo, winning others over. He also is going to be the one that when you're in an elevator, he speaks to somebody. When you're on the plane, his best friend just got off the plane with him. And then this picture, I'm not sure what strength this is. Y'all can help me figure this out. So at the ESC last year, we did a canned food drive, and every department did displays. Somebody thought I looked like the model. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to play the part. So the next day I dressed and I played the part. So maybe y'all can help me figure out what strength led me to volunteer to do that.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to ask you to do a quick participation activity, and we'd like to get a quick poll. So at the top of your screen, if you will use your annotate tools, you'll click on that and you'll see that you can use the stamp function. And if you will stamp somewhere on the spectrum of where you currently stand with strengths, are you new, beginning, just got your strengths report yesterday and really just taken the first step with strengths? Are you in the middle phase where you've known your strengths for a while, but you're still growing and learning and trying to develop them? Or do you feel like you are fully grown in your strengths and you're just taking every minute of your journey in and really trying to use your strengths to be successful? Awesome. So we got a lot of beginners. I always like seeing the stamps that people choose to use. Great. Okay, so we have a good range, and we're hoping that with today's webinar that we're going to be able to meet the needs of all of the different variety of people and where you guys stand with your strengths. Okay, we're going to watch a quick video. And as you watch this video, I want you to kind of consider these questions. And if you have your handout, this will be going along with it, but I'm going to give you a few quick questions as you're watching the video. What is the benefit of knowing the genius of others? What do you love to do? Do you focus on your weaknesses? If you do, choose that one, just explain. And then do you ever feel like a genius? You will have time after the video to silently reflect, but we're going to watch the video and I want you to kind of keep those thoughts in mind.
According to Einstein, you are a genius. And him, and her, and, well, all of them. Einstein said, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll go through its whole life believing that it is stupid. We're all born great at something, but as we grow up, we find out all the things we're not so good at. So we spend our life feeling bad about those things, working on our weaknesses, while we take our strengths for granted. But wait, how about him, and her, and them? They focused on the one thing they were great at. They went from ordinary to extraordinary. And you can too. Your winning formula is someone else's losing formula. You have a natural way to learn, to lead, to live, to love. A natural strategy that suits you in relationships, in your work, in social media, even in the design of your day. In fact, if you do anything that feels like hard work, you're already doing the wrong thing. When you know your genius, you can get in your flow. And when you know the genius of your friends, your workmates, your boss, children, family, you can appreciate them for what they are best at, and that brings out the best in them. As for the things you're not so great at, well, there's a genius in your network waiting to do those things for you, with half the time and double the happiness. It will help you to live the life you love, and love the life you live.
Okay. I'm going to give you about a minute and a half to go through and answer 1 to 2 of these questions. What is the benefit of knowing the genius of others? What do you love to do? What gets you in your flow, as the video said? Do you ever focus on your weaknesses and then explain? And then do you ever feel like a genius? In what moments and how does that make you feel? So I'm going to give you about a minute and a half of silent time. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms and I'll explain what that's going to look like.